let's see. So I guess I didn't really have like a formal structure in mind, but I was thinking just maybe you and I can each give like some introductions of ourselves and, our paths to get to where we are today. And then just kind of like some general comments that we have about whatever it is about career paths. And then we can maybe open it for more Q&A.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Cool. Did you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, why don't you go first? Yeah, and then I'll
Yeah,
follow.
sure. Okay, cool. So thanks everyone for coming. So as you all probably know, my name is Niema Moshiri. I'm an assistant teaching professor in the computer science and engineering department. And I think my path to get to where I am today was a little bit unorthodox in that I was a pre-med like all throughout my life. And in undergrad, I was a pre-med all throughout. And actually, I took the MCAT and applied to med school. And it wasn't until like super late into undergrad that I realized like, oh, I really like computer science and like bioinformatics stuff. So kind of halfway through my senior year, I switched gears and then kind of, I guess not halfway, like a quarter into my senior year, I decided to apply for PhD programs as well. And then I ended up doing a PhD and then went into this academic position that I have right now, which is a teaching focused position. So in UCs, there's these kind of like two tracks. There's the ladder rank faculty, which is these like research professor traditional route, where these are professors that I think the majority of their job, like maybe 75% ish, is focused on research, and then maybe like 25% ish is focused on teaching. But really, like the bulk of their jobs are through research. Versus for me, I knew that I was really a lot more interested in teaching and mentorship and like pedagogical design. So the UCs and other R1 institutions have recently created these like teaching rank faculty that it's kind of the flip where our focus is like 75% teaching and like 25% research. So I still do active research, but the majority of my time is spent with teaching. And yeah, I guess maybe afterwards I can go into some details of like some of the different routes based on what people mention that they're interested in. Yeah, Gautam, do you want to go next?
Yeah, that was like actually a really cool background on how you got into academia. One question I had was, what is an R1 institution?
So R1 is like the research focused universities. So like the UCs
okay.
are R1s versus there's like R2 institutions that have some grants, but not as much research focus. And then you have like primarily, what are they called? Primarily undergraduate institutions, which are majority teaching.
Oh, okay, awesome. Okay, yeah, and like one thing I could really relate to is I think during my junior year of undergrad, I had been doing computer science the whole time. And then I did this activity where you try to figure out what you want to do as a career. And so I started doing pre-med junior year. And I did everything. I think I did all the pre-med requirements. And since my main major was computer science, I decided to apply for grad programs. And I thought like, okay, if I get into a decent grad program, I'll just keep doing computer science. Otherwise, I'll take the MCATs and try to go that route.
That's so funny. We like converged to the same outcome from two opposite paths.
And so for me, I actually started doing research during undergrad, and I had a really cool advisor that got me started on neuroimaging. And then when I went to grad school at UCLA, and my undergrad advisor at UC Davis connected me to a lab at UCLA doing neuroimaging research. And it was in the med school, which was kind of cool because my degree was in the engineering school in computer science. And so I got to collaborate with all these other disciplines like neurology and neuroscience and radiology and a bunch of different types of engineering like electrical and bioengineering. And one thing for me is when I started grad school, I really didn't like the computer science coursework. I thought it was really theoretical, and I remember in one class, I asked the professor, it was about Bayesian networks, I think. I asked him, where could these be applied in real life? And he didn't know. He didn't really care either. He just said, these are so cool. I do research in it. But so like, I didn't like the coursework, but the research in my lab was great. And we were working on all these really cool problems, and we were really productive. It was this lab where the PI would publish at the time like 2.5 papers a week. And it was just like this machine of papers. And so like me being a grad student, I sort of got a taste of like publishing at a really high rate. And understanding how the process works really quickly. And I did, like, after grad school, I did a postdoc for a couple years, and then I was an assistant professor for around a year at USC. And at that time, one of the reasons, well, a few of my friends had joined Google, and they had really enjoyed it, and they had all come from PhD backgrounds, like they had done a postdoc or just graduated, and they thought it was a really good environment. And one of the problems I was grappling with was that in neuroimaging at the time, it was really hard to get a lot of data to do research. And because of that, we would try to use these like really sophisticated statistical methods on these tiny data sets. And a lot of the reason is there's a bunch of privacy laws that try to protect patient data in the US. And so it's really hard to acquire this data and really expensive to do it in experimental settings. And what attracted me to going to industry at the time was working with huge amounts of data and having unlimited compute power to apply to it. And so I thought I'd try it out. And when I joined Google, it was actually pretty similar to my research. And I can go into more detail about that. But that's sort of the route that took me to where I am right now.